Hey, friend, Church D coming at you once again. Thank you for tuning into What Does It Take to Win? I hope you're doing well. If you live on the East Coast like myself, we were slammed with a blizzard. So you're probably still trying to dig out as you're listening to this. Hopefully, I can keep you some company as you're doing that. Hey, I just wanted to remind you that I have a brand new project out that's entitled Transitions. It's available on all platforms where you listen to music. You can also check out my entire catalog of music as well. If you need any instrumentals or beats made, feel free to reach out to me for any type of production, any sessions, etc. Reach out to me. I also am offering right now a free loop pack. It's percussion loops for those who are into the realm of musical directing, or if you're a musician at all and you're, a part of a band and you just want to really sound clean and tight and have everybody play everything on time. I do offer a free loop pack just for you. And I have some more products that are available as well. So you can access everything I've just said by clicking the link in the description. Okay. Let's go ahead and dive right in. I'm going to be moving pretty quickly with this episode because I wanted to sort of jump in, hit it and quit it. So this episode, we're going to be focusing on, more growth. I feel like that's been the underlying theme of these last few episodes that I've been kind of cranking out. It's more so about growth. So the title of this episode, try not to laugh, is You're Not Going to Be Famous, and it's okay. So I'll say it one more time. You're not going to be famous, and it's okay. As I mentioned, we're focusing more so on growth, growing up, etc. And, sometimes we get caught up, with still having these, childish visions and dreams, for our lives. And there's nothing wrong with dreaming big at all, but at some point we're going to have to wake up. So again, the title of this episode is You're Not Going to Be Famous, and it's okay. Some say when we're born with wings. So these wings are our dreams, our visions, our goals, our aspirations, things that have not been tainted by the outside world, right? I'll call them our wings. These wings can be dreams as big as becoming famous, right? Anything that has to do with the entertainment industry, a movie star, a rock star, a professional athlete, or anybody or anything, like I said, who's a part of the entertainment industry. Or it might be simply living the life of Richie Rich. Those of you who are in my generation, I think I might have just dated myself. Richie Rich, having that massive mansion and just pretty much living the dream, right? But somewhere along the line, as we grow older, we're influenced by society and the rest of the world. And then what ends up happening is our wings, they get cut off, right? Sometimes we end up reaching an age in which the dreams and the goals that we once had, as children are simply no longer attainable. And we need to be okay with that. We have to be the ones to kind of clip and cut off our own wings. So I have 3 focal points to consider once again. And the first one is to identify your wings. The second point is how to fly or how to make it work. And the third focal point is when it's time to clip them. So you need to know when it's time to clip these wings. Okay, so again, first focal point is identify your wings. The second one is how to fly or make it work. And the third one is when it's time to clip them. So let's start off with the first point. Let's identify our wings. For me, my wings, it was growing up at least, was to become a professional basketball player. To me, that was the coolest thing ever, and I absolutely believed that was something I could do. When I was younger, I played neighborhood basketball, like when I was like 12, and then the middle school, high school that I went to at the time did not have a basketball team, and they were actually getting ready to set one up, and then it ended up getting shut down. The whole school, rather, ended up getting shut down. So then I got shipped out to a high school. Didn't make the team my first year I was there. Then the second year, I ended up breaking a finger, which was just horrible luck. So I couldn't even play. But then finally, my senior year, I was able to compete at a pretty high level, if you will. But, you know, those of you who are into sports, those of you who are professional athletes who are listening right now or who have children into sports, you know that you can't really just walk on and play 1 year and then everything comes together and you're the standout player in your state or even in your region. That's just not the way it works. And you know, it wasn't as hard as it could have been for me. It wasn't a hard pill for me to swallow. I want to say mostly because when I broke my finger, that's when it kind of shifted things into perspective and showed me, okay, maybe you don't want to be a professional basketball player because you won't be able to pursue music. You know, it showed that music was a bit more important in my life. This actually might be a good segue into my second point. But I wanted to add to this whole thing with, you know, having wings and wanting to be a basketball player. So as I grew a little bit older, obviously it was the end of high school for me and I'm transitioning into college. Nobody's recruited me at this point. My focus then shifted into, okay, maybe I should pursue music full time. You know, maybe this gift that I kind of grew up with, you know, doing music, playing, and, you know, producing, maybe this is something that could be pursued. So as you know, I think I could say we're concluding the first point. Now we're segueing into the second point of how to fly or how to make it work. So I had to figure out how to make music work for me. Maybe you can work in an industry that's closely related to what your dreams are, or, you know, what your wings are, if you will, since we're talking about wings and clipping them. Maybe, for example, we'll start with the sports, right? Maybe you're into sports and you can't quite become the professional athlete that you want to be. Maybe you broke a finger like how I did, you know, or maybe you have another injury that you just can't really come back to. It's a career-ending injury. You could find another avenue and, you know, you could possibly become, let's say, a coach, a physical trainer, or maybe you can even get into the entertainment side of the business as it pertains to sports. You know, you can do some administrative jobs as well. It's not just the players that get to travel from city to city and compete. Well, they're the ones who compete, but it's not just the players who get to travel from city to city and, you know, and do their job, right? For lack of better words. So let's sort of pivot back to as I was entering into college and I was thinking, okay, maybe I can pursue music full time. Music is possibly, you know, the hardest career choice anybody could take. I don't know if it's, you know, being a professional athlete or being in the entertainment industry. I'm not sure which one is more difficult, but I would suggest that the entertainment industry and music could be very challenging. And I had to figure out how to make it work, right? You know, I said in my heart, hey, I want to do this, you know, full time professionally. I'd like to be compensated well for what I'm doing. How am I going to make this work? So I decided, okay, let me just start small. You know, I'm in church, right? I know how to play piano at least. Let me just play piano at church as much as I can and let me get really good at it. You know, let me serve and let me really support my local church. And then from there, as I was supporting, you know, other people would reach out to me and say, hey, I'm having an event, you know, can you come and help me with this? And, you know, from forming relationships, one thing led to the next. And then eventually I was, you know, afforded the opportunity to, you know, use my gift, you know, across the world. And then, you know, I began to expand some more and then enter into the realm of music production and just ultimately becoming an artist myself and releasing my own original music. Now, I'm in no way, shape, or form super duper famous at all. But I was able to kind of, you know, make that work for me. You know, I was able to fly, right? You know, so I didn't have to clip those wings, at least not yet. And let me go ahead and get to my third and final point because I hear my 8-month-old waking up from their nap. My third and final point is when it's time to clip them. So once you reach a certain age, you'll have to know when it's time to stop pursuing and focus on more attainable goals. I would suggest that it's best to pursue stability. You don't want to be 35, 45, 55, still trying to be a rapper or a pop singer or whatever the case may be. That's actually embarrassing. And if you know somebody who's doing that, please share this episode with them so they can stop. Be a good friend. But sometimes it doesn't mean we have to quit completely, but rather we have to realign. Again, I'll give another example and I'll use music. Let's say I'm a music producer, or I am a music producer. I'm not going to continue to produce the same style or genre of music that I produced when I was a teenager, especially if I'm 30, 40, 50 at this point, if I'm still producing. This is mainly because the times have changed, right? And that style of music that was once popular is no longer popular. And now it sounds dated, right? You sound like that old auntie or uncle who, is just kind of stuck in that era. You never want to be that. If I'm an artist, I'm not going to go out and just put out the same style of music over and over that I put out when I was younger. I'm most likely going to shift into a different genre. So like I was saying, I'll use myself as an example. I was putting out a certain style of music for some years. If you check out my catalog, you'll hear what I'm talking about. But as I began to grow older, I began to shift into something a bit more age appropriate. Not to say I'm unable to produce what I once created or even produce what's popular now. I'm just recognizing that I'm growing, and as we grow, we have to do things differently so we're not stuck. And I said that in a previous episode actually, so you can go back and check that one out. But you want to do different things. You want to sort of continue to grow so ultimately you don't die. Because if we stop growing, what happens? We're no longer living. Okay. And that, my friends, is my third and final point to consider. I'm going to go ahead and put my baby back to bed. But before I do that, let me just go ahead and give you a nice quick recap. So the first point is to identify your wings, right? As a child, my wings were I wanted to be a professional basketball player. I then had to pivot and then pursue stability. The second point is how to fly or how to make it work. So upon the ending of my high school career, I pivoted into music and trying to make that work. And my third and final point is when it's time to clip them. You're going to want to cut your wings once you reach a certain age and pursue something that's more stable so you can leave a better legacy to your family. Thanks for tuning into this episode, and most importantly, thanks for tuning into this podcast. I really, really appreciate you. Hey, don't forget to share this with somebody that you know, love, and you're concerned about. Or you can share it with somebody that you're not even concerned about. But be sure to share it. Like, comment, and share. Also, click the link in the description. I have many more great things in store for you. Let's connect. God bless.